Hi, welcome to the bathtub. This is the post-COVID rebound edition of the bathtub, not to be confused with the post-COVID edition. That was the post-COVID edition was just a kind of it was a false dawn. That's what that was. Those were a false dawn of thinking we were getting better, and then we went right back into the COVID rebound, and now we're coming out of the COVID rebound, and we still have a little cough. We got the mineral water, no pixels. We're totally unpixelated. Dodo's pretty much staying in her cage. She's had lots of excitement. She's been we have a little coconut that she just can't stop playing with her coconut, and she's managed to break it 3 or 4 times. It's come crashing down out of this after she's torn off the ropes and everything, and then she's often in the damn thing when it falls off, and afterwards she sits on the thing going. She looks totally terrified. Poor bird. And then we fix it, and she tears it apart again. She's almost close to breaking it again. I don't know. We ordered a new one from Chewy. That's the excitement. Everything's happening here. You know everything I do. And we I don't know. We're trying to get back to that Raphael glow. I don't think I'm getting it anymore. This is a complete one of the many stupid, pointless episodes that we do. It's called To Digitize or Not to Digitize. You probably thought I forgot about doing these, but I'm not. I haven't forgotten. This is where basically I've learned to find ways of getting ebooks of lots of books that I've had on my shelves for years. I have carried around for decades. I mean, for example, here's one of them. Phenomenology, Language, and Sociology by Merlo Ponte. I've had that book probably 40 or 50 years. I probably got it in grad school when I was at Irvine, when I thought I was going to read all the phenomenologists. And I kind of read a little bit of them and then got kind of tired of them. Anyway, this is one. These are the ones that are really easy to get rid of because, every time I think of getting rid of this book, I mean, look at the size of this damn thing. I think, oh, well, one of these days I really do want to get to know phenomenology and go back and read Sartre a little much. See, I never read any of these people that carefully. I couldn't. I found them all. I got a little kind of exhausted. I did my best, and try to get to understand the gist of them, but I don't know if I did. Anyway, I was always going to try to read this. I've read excerpts in other volumes of Merlo Ponti. This is an important book of his, I guess, and I'd never read this one. See, these are the ones that are easy to get rid of, because there's no marks in it. So I can get it, and I found an online ebook copy of this. So when I want to read it, I can get rid of it. This is a perfect example of To Digitize. No problem there. I can digitize that. It's going straight into the eBay pack. Here's another one. This is a little tougher because these are such cool-looking books. John Yale and John Hopkins did all these Harold Bloom books. Another book I bought probably in grad school at Irvine, and I thought I was going to master all the lit crit philosophy and so forth. And I do like Bloom. I've read a lot of Bloom over the years, and I've read some of these books, these things about agons. Basically, the basic premise is poets always have some strong father figure that they want to make. They want to impress that writer. At the same time, they want to be different and break away from that writer. So there, that's the whole premise. There's 3 or 4 volumes. Poetry and Repression, Revisionism, from Blake to Stevens. So, in other words, Stevens has some sort of admiration for Blake, and he wants to be like Blake, but at the same time he wants to break away from Blake. That's the whole thing. I wish I could explain it better than that. Anyway, I did not read this one, because I usually keep notes in them. So, it's a beautiful copy. I keep not wanting to get rid of it. So this is a little harder to get rid of, because I would like to read this book eventually someday, if there was time in the world. But I found an e-copy of this, so I'm going to get rid of it. I've sold a few Harold Bloom books. Look at this. I have Keats, lots of Keats, and I have letters of John Keats, various volumes of the letters of John Keats. And this is a really good edition of the letters of John Keats, who was pretty interesting. I always, when I was in grad school, I always thought I was going to really study the Romantics so much, and I kept all these books. And I don't think I've read it since grad school. It's not like I'm constantly going back to read John Keats. However, I look at this, I think that should probably go in the. I've got a copy of his stuff for ebooks, but I kind of want to have that, so that's going back. I can't get rid of that one. Theodore Adorno, I was a big fan again during my lit crit phase, and I never did stop reading. I always liked the Frankfurt School. I like Horkheimer and Adorno, and I like Walter Benjamin a lot. And I like a lot of George Lucas's work. And I still enjoy reading their work. This is his book called Aesthetic Theory. It's probably one of his most complicated books, next to the one that I like a lot, Dialectic of Enlightenment, which is very complicated, but I actually kind of managed to read through that a couple of times. This is one of those books that's been on my shelf for years. I've always meant to read it. Every time I start 2 pages of it, it just makes my head hurt. And I found that on an e-copy. I have no notes in it. That's an easy one to get rid of, though I'm really, it's very hard getting rid of any books. Walter Jackson Bates' biography of John Keats. I carried this big fat book around. It's a nice, solid Oxford edition. It's very hard to get rid of a nice, beautiful old paperback. But at the same time, the biographies, I do prefer ebooks because I can make notes in them and easily find them. I don't have any room on my shelves. I can read that on my Kindle. George Lukash's book, The Young Hegel. So I can't get rid of a lot of Lukács, but the young Hegel, I might be able to get rid of the young Hegel. I read some of the old Hegel. I found kind of hard to figure out, and I found an ebook of it. So that's really, I've never made it far enough into this book to understand it enough to underline a sentence. So nothing. I'm not losing any notes. Good going. Okay, we'll get rid of this one. Violence and the Sacred. And this is another one of these books I read. I read this in grad school too. Renee Gerard's book. It's about how sacrificial victims are used by society for various things. And I read this fairly closely. I have some notes in here. There's only really 2 or 3 arguments in here, as I recall. And I think I have a few notes in this. I found a decent e-copy, and I can transfer my notes from this into my ebooks. And I don't think I ever want to read that again. I don't think so. Merlo Ponte, Primacy of Perception. Really is supposed to be an important book. I wouldn't know because I never managed to get very far in the phenomenology or Merlo Ponte. Anyway, there's a nice, lovely copy. I've had it for 50 years. Does it have the... sometimes I can see where... From this great series, Northwestern University Studies in Phenomenology and Existential Philosophy. That's easy to say. Anyway, there's a volume. I'm making some room on my shelf. So can you see it? There's no room on the shelves. This is another guy from my old grad school. A guy named was Wolfgang Iser there. He was aesthetic. Was it reader response theory? I don't know. I didn't understand some of the guys that were teaching. Wolfgang Iser was a very well-liked man there. He's a very good teacher, supposedly. Johns Hopkins. I've started this book probably 5 or 6 times in my life, and I have a few notes, and not enough to have to keep the book. And I found an ebook copy of that. I can transfer those notes over to the ebook, and it's just like I still got it. Finally, this is a book I didn't buy very long ago. I like H.D.'s poems. It's just a huge goddamn book. It's her collected poems. I only bought this because I was writing a piece about all the writers and poets who lived on Mecklenburg Square. I did this for the New Republic. I loved that. That was a great assignment. And I was able to read all because I lived right near Mecklenburg Square. And H.D. was one of the people who lived there, along with people like Dorothy Sayers and D.H. Lawrence was her. Well, I think she was one of her lovers there. Anyway. I like her poems. They're a little weird for me. I'm not a big pound and imagist reader of poetry, but I did want to get this, and I just never opened it since I bought it. And I can get a lot of her original volumes for free on Kindle. So I'm going to get rid of that as much as I want to keep that. Anyway, there you go. Memory lane, going down, trying to make room for new books. And all these are great books, but where do you got to keep? You got to move them somewhere. You got to make some room, and that's to digitize, not to digitize. Those are the digitizers. We decided not to digitize the letters of Keats. We don't have any argument one way or the other. Okay, stay safe, get better, don't get COVID, take all your shots. Bye.